Welcome to video 4, where Retera teaches programming. This video is Programming Lesson 4. So, in my previous 3 videos, I was constantly changing system. I started with the C programming language as a bit of a history lesson of why things started the way they were. And then I moved to the Java programming language, and then I moved out of the terminal entirely and into BlueJ, a programming environment for coding Java. What I'd like to do this time is stay in BlueJ and stay in one environment, just as I had been in the previous video, but to sort of have fun with it and try to advance our understanding of the programming language. So, to that extent, let's make a new project, and we're just going to call this, I guess, Programming Lesson 4. But what I have in mind for this project is to try to make a very simple game where we interact with the project, still using the terminal as we were doing before, but where we generally have some fun options to do. So to that end, I think what we want to do, let's make a class called main program. That's just going to be the thing that has our main method in it. So we know, as we saw from the world of C that's outside of Java, basically, you need that public static void main as a way to have your program have a starting point. But apart from that starting point, Java tries to use classes for absolutely everything. In our previous video, we created a class that was a concept of a place. In this video, what I'm thinking we want to do is have a character who goes to different places. So let's make a character called the character. We'll probably only have one of those. That's just going to be our main player. In fact, and here's something interesting. In general, you should be able to rename classes. I wonder if we rename character to player, what's going to happen here? What if I rename class player? What do I do? Yeah, it just renames it to player. Oh, that's nifty. Alright, so I changed my mind. Instead of the player, or instead of the character, it's going to be the player. It's shorter, simpler. It's the name of the human player. So let's give them a name. That's going to be the name of the player that is going to be used. And I think we also want to have a way to communicate with the player. So in the past, what we did is we had system print lines printing things out. But let's make a tell method that really represents us as the narrator of the game, telling the player something. And we can tell him a message, and when we do, what's going to happen is it's going to do that system.out.println to just print that message onto the screen. The other thing I think we want to do is give the player a sense of place, a sense of where they are. So that's where we're going to create a place, and that's going to be very similar to the place that we had in our previous example, but maybe we'll change it up a little bit. So when we have a sense of place here, we're definitely going to have a name on a place. The other thing we're going to want to do is have the ability to enter the place, but let's do something a little bit fancier. So when we enter the place, we're gonna say that a player must enter a place. So it's not just that entering a place is something a place can do, where it prints out, oh, you're in the place. More specifically, we're going to say that entering a place is something you can do with a player, who is the player. We could name it player, we could name it the player. And when you do enter, it's going to tell that player something from us as the narrator. It's going to say, you have entered the name of the place. So in that way, our places will tell the player if the player has entered the place. The other thing that we probably want to do is, on the player, give him a record of what place he's currently in. So we're going to make current place, and that's like where the player currently is, which seems like a nice thing to have, right? So as your player moves around, they'll have stored in their list of fields where they are in the world, what their current place is. To that end, we could probably also have a function go, where the player goes to a place, and it's going to have a new place. So this will be how you go to a new place. When you do go to that new place, we're going to have the place. Oh, it needs to be a void. That's right. I'm being a little silly here. So these both need to be void. You know, I was just getting ahead of myself. So when we go to a new place, what we're going to do is we're going to have this dot current place will become the new place. And then we're going to tell the new place that we have entered it. So we'll give it this. So this is a way to refer to the player that we're currently inside of. And we're doing that twice here. We're doing the current place of this player will be assigned to be the new place, and then we'll enter that place. The other thing we might want to do is to create a leave function, current place.leave, in case there was anything our place was going to do when we left it. So let's go back to place and give it public void leave. When you leave a place, it'll tell us that we've left that place. Player.tell. You have left, and the name. Cool. So now we have the concept of a player, and the player can go to different places. What we want to do now is actually make some places and make the player so that we have an actual program. So we have player, the player, that's going to be a new player. For that, we probably want a name. So let's make the scanner again. Remember we had that before. If we import java.util.scanner, and what we can do is we can make a new scanner. We can name it whatever we want. We can name it like input scanner or something, and we'll give it system.in as sort of that input of where it's going to get its data from. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our input scanner and we're going to get that next line from it. That's going to be the player's name, starting off string username with the input scanner, next line. To go with that, we're going to want to tell them to enter their name like we did in the previous program. So we're going to say, please enter your name. So they're going to see that. It's going to say, please enter your name. They will do that. They will enter their name. And we'll create a player using their particular username. This is where we get to the fun part. We want to have a couple of places. And actually, I think we could go a little bit further and say that maybe we want some extra information on what a place is besides its name. So let's give it a description. That a place has a description as well as a name. We also want to have that place constructor like we had before, but now we're expanding it a little bit, so we can use a comma to take the 2 arguments on our function and say that it's going to take both a name and a description to create a place. And then when we do that, we will assign the name of the place to be the name given, and we will assign the description of the place to be the description given. So that's pretty nice. Now we have a sense of place that has both a name and a description. And I think the other thing we might want to do when we enter a place is to tell them the description of the place. That way, they can see information about the place where they are every time that they enter it. I think maybe we also want to have a function like look that looks at the place. So the player can sort of investigate. In fact, maybe we should call it investigate. So you can investigate a place, and when you do, we'll tell the player the description again. That's going to be useful to us in the future, I think. So we have a player, and the player has a current place, and the other thing we probably want to do is say that we need to create a player with a constructor, similar to what we did with a place. So we're going to do that same public player with no return type, just the type and the name are the same. It is how to create a player. That's going to take both a name and a place, the current place, because a player needs to start somewhere, otherwise where would they be? So then we'll assign this dot name equals name and this dot current place equals current place. That's all well and good, but we still need to finish our program that's going to use that. So we created a player, we gave them a name. We also need to give them a place. So let's give them a place. Let's make a place called a house. It's just like a starting place. Equals new place. It's the house, and it is a small house with a door. So we have our player, and the player starts in the house. Now let's make another place outside. It's going to be a new place called outside, and this place is outside of the house. That'll be our description. I was trying to think about a good description. This place is outside of the house. There is a tree with a tree house on top. And we make another place that's the tree house. And we could say this is the tree house. And this is a fun tree house at the top of the tree. And that's the description of that place. So now we have 3 places, but we didn't give the user the ability to go to any of them yet. We've coded what it means to go to a place, but he's never going to go to any of those places. We could do it maybe with the whole right-clicking stuff inside of BlueJ, but let's try to do it with code. So in order to do that, what we want to do, here's an interesting thing too. We want to get input from that scanner. So let's make it like a string variable. It's going to be user input. And what we can say is we want the user input to load from that input scanner again. Input scanner.nextLine. Then we could just say while input scanner. You know what? I got ahead of myself. I got a better idea. So the input scanner has a function, I believe, called hasNextLine. And if you're not sure about any of these, you can just sort of Google them online. So you can just Google like Java scanner. It'll come up with, oh, I don't have an internet connection right now. All right, don't worry about that. It'll come up just fine, and there's a nice page. It's always the top hit on Google, and it'll tell you about the hasNextLine function on the input scanner. So with that, we can actually simplify this code I started writing, but we can use hasNextLine and just say, for as long as that input scanner has more data, we'll just scan for the next user input. And this is the fun part. We want to see if they say go, and then the name of a place, we want to go to that place. But if they say something different than that, like if they say look, maybe we want to look at that place they're currently in and print out its description with the investigate function. So let's first do go. With that, we can say if user input dot starts with go. So starts with is this handy method in Java that exists on strings, and it will it'll tell you if the string starts with a particular word or not. So if they do say go, then what we can do is we can get a number that is within that text. So let's assume, let's make an example. Maybe the user is going to type go outside, right? If they do that, we're going to want to know what is the start of outside. Actually, we don't even need that yet. So what we can do, here's a better idea. It'll always be the third character that is the space, right? So you have the 0th character, the first character, the second character, and I guess in that regard, depending on whether you count it starting from 0 or not, the 4th character, I guess, or number 3 if you start at 0, would be the start of outside. So we can do user input dot substring, starting from position 3 right here. That's position. So like this is position 0, this is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3. So if we take a substring, this is another function that will split the text go outside and give us just a piece of it. So we're just going to split it to outside. And so we're going to say string place to go equals that. Then what we can do is say if place to go, we did this dot equals before, dot equals outside dot name. Then we can go to the outside place, and then we can say the player dot, did I call it go? What did I call it? I think it's called go. Yeah. Player go to outside. And you could just use this same concept. So maybe you've seen this before, but along with if, you can do else if. So you can see else if place to go equals house.name, then go to the house. Else if place to go equals treehouse.name, and go to the treehouse. So now you can type go, and you can go to these different places. What if you're already in a place and you want to look at it? let's do that too. So we can use the same else if concept and say else if user input dot equals, not even starts with, just equals. If you just type look is going to look at the current place. And then what we'll do is we need a function for the player. It's just going to be look at current place. And look at current place is going to call that function current place dot investigate, which will be given the player so that it can tell things to the player. Cool. So now we can say if you type look, do the player dot look at current place. Now I'm not exactly sure if all my code is perfect, but let's try compiling it here and see where we end up. See if we've got a nice little program. Please enter your name. Alright, I am Retera. Let's go outside. You have left house. You have entered outside. This place is outside of the house. There's a tree with a tree house on top. Oh, let's go to that tree house. You have left outside. You have entered house. It is a small house with a door. What? I went to the house when I typed. That's a bug. Let's fix it. Alright. Look at that. It says treehouse.name. I need to copy treehouse down here in the go method. So we go to that treehouse. Alright, we're fixing it. We're going to go to the treehouse. Oh, you cannot compile while it's running. Okay. Let's stop it from running then. Exit. We need an exit function. Uh-oh. How do I make it exit? Let's make it exit. Close. Okay, good. Wait, I closed it and it thinks it's still running. Uh-oh. That's not good. BlueJ is being dumb. I haven't used BlueJ in a while. I didn't think it would be that dumb. Let's just reset Java virtual machine. That looks good. I think that did it. We reset the Java program. We don't ever want to get stuck like that again. So let's make a quit command. To exit a Java program, there is a special thing you can do. So we're going to say if user input equals the text exit, that exits. Or actually, let's make it quit game. So you have to type quit space game. If you do that, there's a function called system.exit, and you just pass it as 0, and that tells the computer to close the program. That'll be really good, so we can quit our game here. But I should be able to get to the treehouse now. So let's run it again. Alright, please enter your name. Retera. I need to have it press something about where we are starting off, don't I? So if I look, it is a small house with a door. Okay, I'm gonna go outside. I left the house. I entered outside. Places outside of the house. There's a tree with a tree house. Let's go to the tree house. Alright, I left outside. I entered the tree house. It's a fun tree house at the top of the tree. What if I go back in the house? I left the tree house and I went back in the house. It's a small house with a door. So as you can see here, we've just had a little bit of fun and made a little game. And I don't know exactly how long this video was, but I think that probably needs to be the end of that. And I'll come back in video 5 where we can continue having a bit of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a good night.